You will be used as an instrument of military power. Hey, I am Chuck the Bureaucrat, and today I'm going to make a point that at first glance might seem really obvious, but it has some interesting implications when you extend it to see its impact on your military career. That observation is that if you wear the uniform, you will be used by the United States government as an instrument of military power. You will be used to threaten and intimidate our enemies and to comfort and reassure our allies. And when you first join, all of that seems pretty clear. You're jumping out of airplanes and doing high-intensity collective training and becoming proficient on a ridiculous array of weaponry. It's no surprise that you're an instrument of military power. In fact, it's probably the reason you joined. But where the surprise comes in is when you move beyond your initial military experience and you start doing the things that the U.S. military wants you to do in the later parts of your career. A lot of people have a mid-career experience where they feel like they're being diverted away from the things they think are important, and they start having to do things that don't seem immediately connected to military might. And that's where this point that the U.S. uses you as an instrument of military power becomes vital to hold in mind. They don't necessarily ask you how you want to be used. They pick for you. And while you may not have the amount of control over your life that you'd like to have, I suggest that understanding this point can make the whole experience a lot less frustrating. I'll give you a personal example. Shortly after I made Major, I was trundled off to Monterey, California. The military has two big institutions out there: the Defense Language Institute and the Naval Postgraduate School. My family and I got issued half of a duplex, and in the other half, there was this tall, good-looking, strapping combat arms officer. He was out there because he was going to DLI to learn French. His next assignment was going to send him to France, where he was going to attend, some French war college, basically their version of our ILE. Meanwhile, I was over at NPS, nugging through calculus refreshers and learning optimization algorithms. And I gotta be honest, I was more than a little jealous. I would have loved to have been learning French and heading off to some assignment in Europe. French was my high school language, and I had just come from an assignment with a civil affairs unit where I had an admittedly low French proficiency rating. So I was kind of chapped that this good-looking lunk was getting to do something that I wasn't going to get to do. But then, the weirdest thing happened. It was 4th of July, and I was filling water balloons for my kids. My neighbor comes out, he sees what we're doing, and he looks way across the common area, and he sees a buddy of his who's out in his backyard barbecuing. So he says to me, "Hey, give me a water balloon." And he takes this thing and he chucks it 80 yards downhill and nails the guy who's barbecuing. And then it dawned on me. He's not going to France because he wants to go to France. He's being sent to France because the U.S. wants to project an image of the American officer as this athletic phenomenon. I mean, it'd be nice if what the government wanted to use you for lined up with what you wanted to be doing, but there's no guarantee. And the same thing is going to happen in your military career. How many happy infantry non-commissioned officers have gotten swooped up to go be drill instructors, not because they wanted to be drill instructors, but because the U.S. wanted to project that exquisite professionalism that those individuals could provide. Same thing happens with the recruiting force. So my point here is that as you and the people that you mentor move through the military journey, there's probably going to come a point where they feel like things have gotten out of control. And maybe that's true, but rather than fuss and fight and resist, look at what you are being used to project. Have an appreciation for how you're contributing to the might of the nation. And understand that there's a second, follow-on implication for this. Everybody, sooner or later, gets a polite tap on the shoulder and a suggestion that maybe it's time to hang up the uniform. That can feel a bit like they don't need you anymore. In fact, some SOBs actually say it to your face. But I suggest that even after you're out, you still play a role in projecting this military power. Not that I'd put a U.S. retiree up against some other country's 22-year-olds, but at the same time, I feel pretty comfortable saying our 55-year-old retirees are better than your 55-year-old retirees. Anyways, that transition from military to not military, it can be tough on everybody, not just the folks going through it, but on the people around them. So, if you want to understand the experience a bit better and help the people who are going through it, watch this video.